Picture this for a second. Imagine being entirely broke. And I don't just mean, oh, money's a little tight right now, broke. I mean staring at your bank accounts and realizing you have absolutely nothing left to your name. Well, welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to dive into the truly incredible story of Grant Sabatier. Grant hit absolute rock bottom. He was fired from his job, and after sending out over 200 applications, he got 0 calls back. None. He actually had to move back into his parents' house, just carrying this crushing weight of feeling like a total failure. But here's the crazy part. From that devastating low point, he built an extraordinary path straight to wealth, which he lays out in his book, Financial Freedom. And today, we are breaking down his exact roadmap.
To really understand where he started, get this. In one of his bank accounts, he had exactly 70 paise. That is essentially 1 single cent. In his other account, a grand total of 158 rupees, or about $2. Imagine being 24 years old, sitting at your parents' dinner table, and just completely avoiding eye contact whenever they ask if you found a job yet. The emotional weight of that is just crushing. He felt like a total loser. But one day, while just lying in an empty field, completely frustrated and questioning literally everything, it hit him. A massive, radical change wasn't just an option anymore, it was absolutely necessary. He realized he just couldn't keep living on his parents' terms or society's terms for one more second.
So let's look at the agenda for this explainer. We'll cover starting from 0, the 7 stages of freedom, the real value of your time, the 25x retirement rule, and finally, how to put your money to work.
Let's jump right into Section 1, starting from 0, the turning point.
When Grant decided enough was enough, he didn't just casually hop online and apply for another corporate desk job. No, he deployed a wildly aggressive turnaround strategy. He literally consumed every single personal finance book he could get his hands on, he launched multiple side hustles, and he set a massive, concrete goal for himself to save 7.5 crores, that's 75 million rupees, in just 5 years. I know, that sounds insane, but setting a concrete, seemingly impossible number is actually the required first step. When you anchor yourself to a massive number like that, your brain automatically starts searching for the extreme, out-of-the-box solutions required to actually hit it.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 7 stages of freedom, the roadmap.
Grant didn't just accidentally stumble into wealth. He realized early on that financial freedom is basically a ladder. So let's break down the first 4 foundational rungs of that ladder. Stage 1 is clarity. You have to know your exact target number. Stage 2 is self-sufficiency. This means you're earning enough to cover your own expenses without any outside help from anyone. You're not a financial burden. Stage 3 is breathing room. You finally have 1 to 2 months of living expenses saved up. If you got fired tomorrow, you wouldn't immediately panic. And Stage 4 is stability. You've completely wiped out all your bad debt like credit cards, and you have a solid 6 months of expenses saved. What you really need to take away from this is that these first 4 stages, they're all about pure survival and basic security. Hitting Stage 4 gives you this immense life-altering sense of peace.
Now, once you have that foundation, it builds directly into your ultimate lifestyle goals. Stage 5 is flexibility. You now have 2 full years of living expenses sitting in the bank. At this point, your daily decisions are no longer driven by financial fear. Stage 6 is financial independence. This is the golden stage Grant hit in just 5 years. Your investments are now generating enough return to completely cover your daily expenses. Working? It becomes entirely optional. You only work if you're actually passionate about it. And finally, Stage 7 is abundance. You have way more money than you could ever realistically spend. You travel, you dive into hobbies, and you live entirely on your own terms.
All right, Section 3, the real value of time, the mindset shift. To climb those 7 stages, you have to fundamentally rewire how your brain works. Think about it. You can always make more money, but you can never get your time back. The biggest hurdle for most of us is that we treat our time like it's totally worthless, trading hours of our precious life just to save a couple of pennies. CRAD founder Kunal Shah hit the nail on the head when he said, if your hourly rate is 1,000 rupees, don't waste 30 minutes for a 500 rupee discount. And yet so many of us do exactly that. We'll drive an hour across town in traffic just to save a fraction of what our time is actually worth. You've got to think of Naval Ravikant's advice here. Set an aspirational hourly rate for yourself long before you're actually rich. If a task or a discount saves you less than that aspirational rate, you either outsource it or you ignore it completely. Doing that frees you up to focus on high-income skills while literally creating a job for someone else.
This brings us to Section 4, the 25x retirement rule, demystifying the math.
Remember stage 1, clarity? Well, how do you actually find that magic target number? Look, financial independence is not some lofty, abstract dream. It's a concrete, highly achievable math equation, and it relies on one specific formula, the 25x retirement rule. All you do is calculate your ideal annual living expenses and then multiply that number by 25. That gives you the exact total amount you need for absolute financial freedom. So let's say you do the math and figure out you need 12 lakhs a year to live comfortably and happily. Multiply 12 lakhs by 25, and boom, your target is exactly 3 crores. Once you lock in that firm, unshakable target, your entire vision just becomes crystal clear.
Okay, but what do you actually do with 3 crores once you have it? You split it, balancing immediate safety with aggressive growth. You take half of it, 1.5 crores, and lock it into ultra-safe fixed deposits. That guarantees your 12 lakhs a year for the next 12 years, completely stress-free. Then you take the other half, the remaining 1.5 crores, and dump it right into index funds. Over those exact same 12 years, compounding at roughly 15%, that 1.5 crores explodes into a staggering 8 crores. And then you just repeat the cycle. It's brilliant because it completely protects you from short-term stock market dips while still capturing that massive long-term compounding growth.
And that leads us to our final section, Section 5. Put money to work, execution, and avoiding traps.
Now, understanding the math is fantastic, but execution is where the wealth is actually built. Listen, every single 1,000 rupees you save today is a vital step toward that compounding magic we just broke down. But to actually fuel your investments, you have to aggressively avoid society's biggest money traps. We're talking about the major wealth killers here. Buying ridiculously expensive houses just for the fancy zip code, financing show-off cars just to impress people you don't even like, constantly eating out instead of cooking at home, and the ultimate classic trap, taking on a massive soul-crushing EMI loan to fund a big, fat Indian wedding. By dodging these massive, totally unnecessary expenses, you actually keep the capital you need to go out and buy your freedom.
So once you're successfully saving all that money, it needs to be actively put to work. Grant leaned heavily into real estate to build up his side income, and he used 2 main strategies to do it. The first is flipping. This is where you buy undervalued properties, fix them up, and sell them for a hefty profit. The second is rental income. You take out a loan to buy a house, but you have the tenant's monthly rent completely cover your loan payments. Once that loan is fully paid off, you own the asset free and clear, and you just pocket the cash flow every month.
But here's the thing. Whether you're getting into real estate, starting a new side hustle, or just doing freelance gigs online, there is one paramount skill you absolutely must develop. Naval Ravikant famously said, "Learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable." Selling is literally the engine of wealth. To master this craft, Grant heavily recommends 3 crucial books: The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy, Influence by Robert Cialdini, and .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. If you can truly learn how to sell your skills, your services, or your products, I promise you, you will never be poor again.
So there you have it. You now have the exact shadow of a doubt that going from $0 to total financial independence in just 5 years is entirely possible, provided you have a clear number, the right mindset, and a seriously aggressive work ethic. Remember, small steps taken today and small savings compounded over time create a massive difference tomorrow. So the real question isn't whether you can afford to start today. The question is, can you afford the ultimate cost of doing nothing?